Hey guys, this is Wilmaine with Exploring Avatar. Thanks for checking out this condensed clip from our previously live video where we covered the first part of Avatar The High Ground, Volume 1. In this clip, Jerry from Discovering Pandora and I dive into the origins of Spider and even potentially learn who his real father is.
But yeah, so here we go. Kiri's putting on, the one obviously that we saw in that picture with her in the lab. Obviously probably a very similar lab. It seems like this is probably, a lab they revisit a lot. But yeah, she's putting on the breather, obviously, because they're entering a human facility. And Spider has the card to go in. And here we go. You got those avatar tubes right there. And yeah, they're kind of, looking at the basically what we heard Jake say in the original movie, my feet are getting tougher. I can run farther every day. And Spider says, so weird to see your dad all pink and tiny. And Kiri says, and my mom fell in love with him anyway. And he's like, she hates me. More of his little quote. I have to trust my body to know what to do. With Neytiri. And then she's like, she loves you. And so do I. You're like the brother I never had. And I've already got two. Yeah. But your parents are heroes. Mine were Na'vi killers. And she says, hey, monkey boy, my dad was a Marine too. He just figured out he was on the wrong side. Besides, we aren't our parents.
Big stuff right there. Spider saying that his parents were Na'vi killers.
Kind of already, insinuating he might even have a hint at who they are, if he already knows that they're Na'vi killers. So obviously they were in the side of the RDA during the time of that battle. And you want to get some of these quotes here that you find relevant?
Yeah, we've got Spider saying, right, you don't even know who your real dad is. And Kiri's saying, sure, I'm adopted, but they are my real family. And so are you. Then we go back to Jake and Neytiri. I don't like her spending so much time with that boy. He's trouble. He's an orphan. Can't you cut him some slack? There's a saying on Earth, the sins of the father should not be visited on the son. Which, before I go to the next panel, again, we're hinting at sins of the father.
Yeah.
Spider's dad, not a good dude.
Yeah.
And Neytiri doesn't even know what a sin is. And Jake says, a bad thing. Bad things people do.
Yeah. And here, before we move on, the line from Spider here, right? You don't even know who your real dad is. I'm still not 100% certain because I know we just did our last stream where we touched on Kiri's origins and how they worded it there. But somebody left a comment during that video of ours, during that stream underneath, and they, made a good point. They made a good point in saying that, where it says naturally conceived, that's whoever wrote the article, that's their words. The only actual quotes from James Cameron were just saying that she was that it was a natural birth from Grace's avatar, but not that the conception was natural. I thought that was actually a pretty good point, that he said what could have happened, or he or she, I don't remember exactly. What could have happened was that the writer of the article, because they did get the quote natural birth from Grace's avatar body, just kind of filled in just jumped to the conclusion that it was also a natural conception. But at the same time, I'm sure maybe this article was like, I'm sure they have to go through drafts before they they don't just put it out there willy nilly. So maybe it was, you know, he only gave specific quotes from James Cameron for us to read, but maybe he did say that it was a, naturally conceived, but we don't actually see that in the quotes from James Cameron. So basically we're at the point where it could be that if she was really naturally conceived and there was a father, or maybe there is no father, but it was just a natural birth, like it just naturally did. She was born from Grace's avatar. Do you have any thoughts on that little theory there?
So we're back to almost square one with Kiri then. Yeah, I mean that's super interesting. I hadn't really thought about it like that, or I guess looked real closely at what James actually what words were literally his versus
Yeah.
the person writing the article. So I kind of like that though because it kind of helps inject that mystery back into Kiri just a little bit more.
Yeah, because it could
Because
be that
more,
thing where we will just assume here you don't even know who your real dad is, and this the kicker later on, and the reason why she is special is because how we were touching. We're like the only way that this doesn't make it like the whole Messiah Jesus situation was the Immaculate Conception, but now this would kind of bring that back to the back to the board. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So that would literally check all the other boxes. Okay, so that is why she would have these, this further connection with the plants and creatures of Pandora that others don't, and whatever other abilities or whatever that we'll see going forward. So I just thought it was interesting. I was like, that's actually a good point. So maybe TBD on that one, I guess.
Yeah, that really is an awesome point. It's got my mind turning again.
Yeah, and let's see here. So we will wait and see this boy make his own sins. That's not what I meant. And then he says, but I didn't know what I meant anymore. I mean, Neytiri had every right to be worried looking at my own kids. I know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And here's where, this panel right here, guys, this is where it gets really interesting. And I think you have to do a lot of they don't really clearly spell it out for you, but I think they do tell you. It's just kind of like reading between the lines type of thing. But here we go. We start a little flashback 15 years ago. So it hasn't been 15 years then, or at least that's when Spider was or that his mom met whoever the dad was, which we don't know who. But here we have a lineup of RDA soldiers, and we have Quaritch talking to them, and there's Spider's mom right there. Marines aren't supposed to fraternize, or however you say that word. Um, these two guys are like, what about Socorro? Paz? Out of our league, bro. Mine too. I think that right there is one of those read between the line type of. At least that's the way I took it. So if the random soldiers are saying, she's out of our league, mine too, I think that's just to illustrate that most of the guys there, the average Joes, just seemed like she was out of the league for them. You know what I mean? So I
I
think
took it
it.
that same way,
So I
and
think it
I also think.
insinuates. Yeah.
No, go ahead, buddy. What were you
Oh
saying?
no. Yeah, I was just gonna finish that. That I think what it could be insinuating is if she's out of the league for the average Joes, then it might take somebody who's above an average Joe, maybe the person right there talking to the average Joes.
I agree, and you see the other people that she's standing in line with are all looking, they're all at attention, looking straight ahead, but not her.
Yeah.
She's looking right at him.
Yep. And you want to get these pages or these panels here?
Yeah. But you put him on a planet a million miles from the nearest bar, and things happen. Spider was one of the first true Pandoran humans. There was more than our fatherless birth at Hell's Gate. Excuse me, there was more than one fatherless birth at Hell's Gate. In a lot of ways, that kid is more Pandoran than I'll ever be. And in that top right panel, the black and white one,
Yeah,
I mean, look at that outline of the male. That just screams Quaritch.
that screams Quaritch and the Quaritch haircut, bro. I mean, I know some other guys. If you go back, you could say maybe, but really, if you really look, though, they don't really have the Quaritch haircut. You know what I mean? It's kind of really, really different, dude. I'm sorry, but that's Quaritch, bro.
It's
That's
just one of those things they're not going to flat out say, Colonel Quaritch is his father, but they're giving us hints, they're letting us
yeah,
figure out. Now, is it possible it could turn out to not be true? Sure, but I think they're being pretty clear about who the dad is, especially with that name.
exactly. That, like somebody says, Christina says that is 100% Quaritch's silhouette. I agree, guys. I'm sorry to say, Quaritch is Spider's dad. Why are you all calling them Joes? Just a figure of speech. But yeah, and you're right, Christina. Boss means peace in Spanish, ironic or appropriate. um, but you know, basic. I like that though. Good thing you pointed that out because I do speak Spanish. That is actually a cool thing. You kind of get both sides of the coin there between like the yin and the yang. You got at least at that time, the human Quaritch was like the epitome of, evil. But what if his mom wasn't? But, sometimes you just can't help who you fall in love with. If her personality was more like her name, like peace, he's got both, the peace and the hate. You know what I mean? So maybe his mom's side wins out in terms of the whole, him wanting peace going forward in the stories. I don't know. It's a cool way to look at it in a way. But yeah, especially with very early on in this, how we just talked about it, they revealed his name, his true name is Miles Socorro. Why would his name be Miles? Why would his mother have given him the name Miles? Because obviously it seems like she was the only one there at birth, or whatever. Like the dad wasn't around anymore at that point. Why would you name him Miles if that's the name of the colonel? If it was just some other guy, you know what I mean?
Right. And calling him, calling the birth fatherless.
Yeah.
So obviously, Quaritch, being who he is, can't take credit for having a child.
Yeah. They ask a great question. Was Spider born before Jake arrived or after he arrived at Pandora? We don't know for sure. We do know that at the beginning of the flashback, sorry, it did say 15 years ago. But like I said, I don't think it's pointed out yet how long after the end of the first movie, or what, how many years later this comic starts. So it could be maybe just similar time or something like that. Maybe he was like a few months few months old, or maybe a year or two, maybe.
Yeah, because looking at that bottom right panel, I mean, I'm going to assume that's what Hell's Gate probably looked like before, the final battle. So I'm going to
Yeah,
assume that he was born at least some point before then
yeah,
versus
because
her being
obviously,
pregnant.
yeah, because obviously we're referencing that he was born at a time before they went into battle, during this flashback. So, and you're right, you're seeing the sun come up, man. A lot of sunsets and everything. I love those panels in this volume 1 so far. But here, let's finish it off. Here are the last two, I believe, of this backstory here. Spider grew up without a dad, and then or a mom. Paz Socorro died in the last great battle and I had something to do with that. Talk about the sins of the father. And like me and you are in agreement that that is not like, I think very initially, if your eye just looks at that panel, you might think that's the Quaritch getting shot by Neytiri's arrows like through the amp suit hatch, but this is a pilot or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably a Scorpion pilot, single
Yeah,
seater, and I'm going to assume this is Jake, or maybe not literally Jake who killed her, but at least one of the warriors when they were attacking in the final battle.
yeah. And I think he just means like, he had something to do with that. Like you said, even if he didn't do it himself, just the fact that he was on the side that did, I think that's why he would just still kind of put the blame on himself. And just to go back, I believe you're right, because I believe maybe that's kind of why they're even showing us there in that bottom right. We're seeing a lot of the flying RDA ships there, the Scorpions and things like that. Maybe hinting that she's like a pilot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then here's our very last one for this stream, guys. You wanna cover this last one here?
Sure. So yeah, I cut the kid some slack and hope he doesn't turn out like his parents. We see Spider with Kiri. Thanks, Kiri. Sure, monkey boy. Us orphans have to stick together.
Exactly. And uh yeah, man, that's very, very interesting. I honestly didn't think something like that was even going to be hinted at in the first volume. It's especially like this isn't even towards the end of volume 1. This is more getting towards the middle of volume 1.
Yeah, they went right at it. I mean, there was no messing around. I mean, you could tell this was a James Cameron script, or at least taken from it. There wasn't. I don't know. It was just so. The story to this first volume is just it's deep. It's rich, and unlike a lot of comic books where there's a slow build up and then by volume 3 everything's crammed in together, this just hits the ground running. And I mean, this isn't even all of the first volume. I mean, we're what, not even maybe a little over a third through it.
Yeah, because this is page 30. We went to page 38, and this panel right here is actually the very top panel of page 39. I just felt that was a fitting panel to end this stream on, with both Spider and Kiri there, basically the two most mysterious characters. Just kind of like a good final panel there. But so basically, we went to like page 39 out of about what, like 86 pages. So
So close to halfway.
close to halfway. Yeah, man. That was I hope you guys really enjoyed that, but anybody not think at this point that that Spider is not Quaritch's son? I, like you said, I do love it that it wasn't literally just stated for us, but it's like very it's hinted at very clearly in a way for me. But yeah, man. It won't be a total surprise then. I'm sure in the movie it might be played out, especially if you didn't read these volumes. It's going to be, I assume, a very big reveal. You know what I mean? But at least for people that did, read these going into it as the prequel, it wasn't 100% spelled out for you. So you could have a little tiny bit of doubt. But I believe, I can bet on it at this point that, yeah, Quaritch is his dad, man.
Yeah, I love when things aren't completely spelled out and you just, I don't know, it's up to you a little bit to use your brain, figure it out. It also gives them wiggle room too. Like there could always be a curveball that totally throws us off, which I don't think will happen, but still, It's always fun when things aren't just black and white.
Exactly. Some guy says they were trying to be subtle about it, but it's pretty obvious. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, it's just on how, it's like, what does this arc mean? Because obviously we also have somebody that's like, no, I am your father. No. You got the whole comparisons between, Luke, Darth Vader. But it's just like, I hope they surprise us with how they go about it going forward, even after that revelation. You know what I mean? How does this change Quaritch's arc? How does this change Spider's arc? It's going to be very interesting to see. Is learning this? Is this why he might be smiles with the recoms? Is this what can potentially make Quaritch, down the road, turn, good, quote unquote? Yeah, man, it'll be very interesting to see. We already know from Total Film there was that little article that he's going to be conflicted already just on like what he is and who he is. So it'll be, with that confliction already bothering him, him already dealing with his human self and his avatar self, and Awa eventually, it says right there, getting more and more of a hold on him, even though he thinks he's in control. What would him finding out that he's, the father of this boy that he didn't even know? Because I'm assuming, he didn't know. I'm assuming maybe he didn't even know he was born, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know how that would play out.
Well, it also helps explain why Neytiri was so against Spider, because that's kind of a side of her we've never seen before. So until we learned that, it was just kind of like, whoa, Neytiri's harsh, but she kind of has good reason.
Yeah. And it does bring up the question: Do Jake and Neytiri know, like, that he was the father? Or for them, is it also kind of like they know who the mother was, because maybe it's in like the record, because I assume that's in the hospital records and all that, you know what I mean? But maybe they don't know who the father is. Maybe she didn't write the father down, so it'll be like everybody might learn, at the same time. But maybe they do know, and like you said, that would explain why she's been very reluctant, because I had told you in the past, I'm like, their descriptions of why she is so distant with him, it doesn't really correlate with what we know. Like, she even fell in love with somebody that was in a way was a human. So to be very, reluctant to be affectionate with this human boy, it just kind of didn't make sense to me initially,
Right. Which is just another piece of the puzzle of why, we think it is indeed Miles Quaritch's son.
Yeah. Oh, Charlie Wood makes a good point. Says Jake and Neytiri know that Quaritch is Spider's father, with the quote, sins of the father. So it could, I'm inclined to think they are. Like you said, it does explain why she would be more hesitant than not to be very distant to this boy. Because I don't believe it, if they're really, bringing in the humans and they're at peace, and they've, the humans and Navi have been very, very friendly and everything throughout these years, it'd be very strange that she would just still be pushing this one particular boy away for no reason when they've been accepting of the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I saw a question in the chat. It was Link's Cat 1. She asked when our next stream is going to be covering the next section of the High Ground Volume 1. That is a good question.
I guess we'll kind of determine. Maybe tomorrow, if we can fit it into our schedules, maybe
sometime this week for sure.
Yeah. So no promises on tomorrow, but as soon as we can get another stream out to cover maybe who knows? Maybe we might finish the whole second half, or we might break that second half into 2 parts, depending on how long that takes us. Because I think we get into more, a lot of newer stuff and a lot of good material, chunky, discussions to talk about in the later half of the book.
Yeah, there's a ton in the book, and like you said, a lot of what we dealt with here was just kind of getting us back up to speed, so it was kind of
Mm-hmm.
easy to go through it. Plus, we'd already seen 7 of these pages, but all the new stuff coming in volume 1 is brand new, and I would say it's probably going to be 2 more episodes, like Jerry just alluded to.
Yeah, but with the volume 2, especially if everybody's loving these, I mean, I had a ton of fun. Hopefully, not just me and Drew kind of discussing it, but I had a ton of fun, kind of like this, like, all of us, even people in the chat just chiming in, because it's great, like all of us kind of going through it together. And what we'll try to do with volume 2 is try to have those out like almost as soon as we can, because that one drops on the 30th, right? I believe the comic shop date is the 30th for volume 2.
Yes, I believe so.
Which is a Wednesday. We might not have, the first stream that day on Wednesday, because obviously we got to read it, kind of digest it first. Maybe the following day on Thursday, but that one as well, we'll try to get those out as soon as possible, and will be broken up into multiple parts. And obviously we'll do the same with volume 3. Like we said, our goal is to try to get these all out to you guys before the Way of Water drops. Wow, no pun intended. That way, you guys basically know the prequel going into it, because as of now, Drew just told all of us, even me, that it seems the retail date might even be pushed back another month till after the Way of Water. So that is pretty insane, man.
Yeah, it really is, and so that means volume 3 is going to be pushed back. I would probably assume February.
Wow.
But it's still showing December 20th right now. So as of right now, it shows it's coming out before volume 2.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
good.
So at least, me and you, we were like, okay, maybe this volume 1, I wasn't as prepared with the local comic shop, because I was kind of counting on maybe a digital dropping, at the same time as comic, but we now know that they're holding the digital back until the retail drops. So now, guys, you might be looking at, I mean, if volume 1, wait, did you say volume 1 stayed December, or that one did get pushed to January, or was it just volume 2?
My email was just about volume 2, but
okay,
I will look right now at volume 1 and see.
But yeah, so it could be that the digital for volume 1 is not till December, and obviously volume 2 January for digital. So hopefully these were okay, and everybody got to see, the picture, the panel's pretty good. We did our best, and but yeah, I hope everybody had a ton of fun. I sure did. Somebody said, even if I had the book, I'd tune in. It's fun to do a read along like this and have little chats on the side about things as we go. Exactly. And that was just our goal, is to we're like, hey, let's, not only is the book hard to get, but even if it was, readily available, I would still love to, do this anyways. It's super fun to not only kind of get Drew's opinion and, me and him back and forth, but you guys that are tuning in live, thank you so much. It's been super fun. But yeah, I hope this was an awesome place to kind of end it on. I was hoping we would have time to get here, because yeah, we just kind of got Kiri's Origins recently by James Cameron. He kind of let that out before volume 1 really did. But now you guys kind of got basically Spider's Origins. I think we can leave this stream knowing, confident that we know obviously his mom, Boss Socorro, and now I think everybody's in agreement that his dad is Quaritch. So yeah, thank you all for doing or tuning in.
Wow, you all. Avatar the High Ground is turning out to be quite the book. They didn't waste any time getting into the good stuff either. This is just part 1 of what will be a 3-part breakdown of the High Ground Volume 1. If you enjoyed this, please give us a like and subscribe, and stay tuned. The next breakdown of Avatar: The High Ground will be arriving soon.